Thank you, Roy. I have to clarify something. You heard people call me here Ayala, and Ela, and Ayla, and Ayla, because they don't know how to pronounce my name. The thing is, I spell my name A-Y-L-A. I didn't decide on this. I was born in the UK, so my parents decided to do this for some peculiar reason. The name is Ela, right? Or you could call me Ella. I'll be all right. So that was very interesting. Shahar related to something which is very interesting. He said, never go on your own. Always go in a company with other people, with co-founders. And there's an interesting, very interesting research done by Ed Roberts of MIT, Sloan MIT. And Ed Roberts says that basically the more the merrier, all right? So 2 entrepreneurs are far better than 1 entrepreneur, 3 entrepreneurs are better than 2 entrepreneurs, and guess what? 4 entrepreneurs do better than 3 entrepreneurs, 5 entrepreneurs do better than 4 entrepreneurs. There's not enough data to say anything about 6 entrepreneurs, co-founders. Our next speaker, well, we heard a lot about Wix recently. Avishai Abrahami is a co-founder and CEO of Wix. Wix is now a NASDAQ-traded company since a couple of weeks ago. Recently completed its IPO. Avishai is a serial entrepreneur and has sold 3 companies prior to Wix.com. And Wix.com were generous enough to do the MIT Enterprise Forum site, so we're very grateful for them. Avishai, could you take it from here? Thank you.
יש לי את זה עליי. לא, לא שם ביקשתי.
Who knows?
אז קודם כל שלום לכולם. And I'll say it in English, right? I think the presentation is supposed to be in English. So, hi everybody. And I got a presentation with a very complex name, which is Startup Right A to Z. And so I was trying to think what to do here, and I pretty much took a bunch of presentation and things that I show and try to put them all together. So I'm going to share that with you. But maybe before that, I'll say a couple of words about Wix. And the vision that we had was that when we started Wix, we felt that there is a missing product out there. There was a great software to build documents, a great software, right, Microsoft Word, great software to build presentation, great tools to build blogs, right? The WordPress existed and Tumblr now exists. But it was nothing that we could find to create really good websites. And that was the concept behind it. We felt that we need to find a way, and that we wanted to build a way to allow people to have a great software to build websites with. And that's the vision behind Wix. Some interesting facts about Wix. I don't know how many of you know that. It was founded in 2006. It has 41 million users. We're having over 1 million new users every month. We have 1.3 million mobile sites in HTML5 built on Wix. It's the fastest growing and largest mobile site builder in the world, 500 plus employees and offices in Israel, New York, San Francisco, and the Ukraine. Another thing that might be relevant here if there's entrepreneurs in the room is the Wix App Market. I'm not going to go into a lot of details here, but it's a way for people to take their software, things they built, put it on Wix, and allow users in a very similar way to an app store to activate software that you guys built. The cool thing about it is that for our users, it means that every day they come back to Wix. There's more and more things they can do with Wix. For software vendors, for people that build software and put them inside of Wix, it's a huge distribution power. It's exposure to 4 million users every month. On average, it's 12 times the exposure that you get from being #1 on Google search results. So it's a fantastic marketing channel if you have software that is relevant. So that was a little bit about Wix. And now I'm moving to the part where those are the things that I learned, right? Those are the things that I believe in. None of them are absolute truth in any way. Those are things that I find that for me means a lot and helped me always make decisions about Wix, about other companies they built, and about companies that I help with. And the first thing I want to say is that building an internet consumer company is 1,000 times easier than building an enterprise company, and especially from Israel. And there are many reasons why. And I think the number one reason is that when you build an enterprise company, you have to trust salespeople to create the deals. Somebody has to go, fly, meet a customer, talk with that customer for many, many months. And the negotiation between them is going to make or break your company. Okay? When you build an internet consumer company, you put a web page and you start marketing it. And you can always measure and improve. You can actually control your destiny. The decision of somebody buy from you usually takes 5 minutes. And you can know if you have a good product or a bad product in either 1 year or 5 minutes. And a lot of times, the salesperson can make a bad product look good or a good product look bad. On the internet, it doesn't exist. The other thing is that when you build an enterprise company, what you do every day is manage salespeople, right? And you have to know, again, this is something which is very different than building a product company or technology, because the main focus of what you do is out there on managing salespeople. So again, if you're not a salesperson and you don't have enterprise sales experience, it's probably a lot more easy for you to build an internet company or or anything else that is being sold directly, and you can control directly the interaction with the customer. This is another truth that many people miss, and I'm just going to go very quickly again. In 2012, the app market total revenues were about $4 billion deducted from, if you remove, I think, advertisement. About 83% of that went to computer games. On average, an app makes about $1,000. Okay? It's very, very hard to make money from building applications, unless it's computer games. And even if it's a computer game, almost all the revenues are being divided between the first 200 computer games in the world. So if you want to build an application and install it that is actually an app and market it, and the business model is that people will pay for that or use that, and that's, you should know, it's almost impossible. It's very, very hard to do that. Again, that's my opinion and my advice based on some statistics. The last part is that when you think about building a product, right, and this is something that I really believe in, and that I think is something that is been with us for a very long time, is that every market starts with very basic products, and slowly it matures over time. And if you see the graph, on the left side, right, the axis that goes on a vertical, is the size of the market, how many users you can actually have will be able to use your product or want to use your product. On the bottom, what you can see is the product maturity, which is the combination usually of ease of use and functionality. Okay? And as products start to mature, and there's this graph right here, which is, it goes slowly. It usually starts and a bit more and more and more products, users join, and then products start to this place, this inflation point, and then just a huge amount of users just rapidly joining. And the last part is where products are mature. And if you think about Microsoft Word, well, no matter how many more features you're going to add to that, you're not going to get another customer, right? It doesn't really matter. Most of us don't even know all the features. It goes the same for YouTube, right? YouTube can add as many features as they want. They're probably not going to increase their market size. And iPhone will probably very similar. And it's true to almost any software out there. And the thing is that when you want to build a company or think about building a company, the best place to start is on the bottom, when it's still flat and down, because it's almost impossible to win over a company that is on the top unless you completely change the game, and it's super, super hard. Usually only happens when another major company goes into that market, and it is impossible when the very hard timing is something that, if you think about YouTube, right? So YouTube was almost at the inflation point where everybody in the world noticed YouTube. Not everybody used that, but everybody heard about it. And you can see Google coming with Google Video, Microsoft with Microsoft Video, AOL with AOL Video, Yahoo with Yahoo videos, and was a lot of those guys. All of them look exactly the same. Some of them actually had better graphic quality, more functionality, and whatever. It didn't matter. YouTube still won. So when you get into that inflection point, even the big guys, in most cases, cannot stop you. So when you think about building your product, always try to aim for that bottom, okay? Where it's still new. There is a new place in the market that you can actually innovate and create something new, and not improve on an existing market leader. That's almost always impossible. By the way, when we thought about Wix, so we thought that, well, we had it making HTML pages, and we wanted to find a way or create a way to easily create great web pages and web content, and we believe it's this new category. There was nothing that was actually owning that market. We were exactly at the beginning on the left of that graph. That's why it was so easy for us to enter into this market. Now, every company, when it starts, usually has 3 phases. Okay, the first phase is when you search for a product that attracts customers. And this is the first part, right? You put things out there and you actually look at how people react to them. And then you want a product to actually make people come and use it and stick with it. And maybe tell their friends about it. Or if you're lucky, they have to invite their friends. And the product starts to grow. Once you have that, and this is a place where you want to innovate very, very quickly, test as many ideas as you can until you have something that actually looks like it sticks, it works. The next part is you try to understand, well, can you make a business out of it? Will it sell? Is there a way to build a business model around it? And when you got phase number 2 figured out, working, you probably want to move to phase number 3, which is thinking about, okay, how do I take that and scale it and make it into a big company? Okay? So when you think about your first company, or any new company, right, always think about, you have to think about phase 1. Only when you manage to solve phase 1, you should think about phase 2 and phase 3. In most companies in the world, when what they started in phase 1 was completely different when they got to phase 2. The idea was completely changes. Okay? So don't spend too much effort in that. Just remember, thinking phase 1, test as many things as you can. So what does it mean to build the first version? Well, first version should be something that you think that you can give the users the value that they want. In which case was when the first time they could actually make a web page the way they wanted. It doesn't have to have all the functionality. It could be a very limited. Our first product was very, very poor, but it was just solving the problem. Okay? And we can make people feel that they created a page that looks good. That's when we know that we had a good product. And that goes everywhere, right? First iPhone product, right? Was a terrible product. I had it. I bought it like 2 weeks after it went out, and I was amazed with it, but I could never actually finish a call, right? It was a terrible phone, all right? It was a terrible browser, right? But the feeling was there, right? It was missing a huge amount of functionality, right? But the feeling was there. You could actually look at it and understand what is the product and get excited by it. And when you release anything out, right? This is what we usually think about how it's going to look. The reality is usually kind of like more something like this, right? And the thing is that what drives it forward is innovation. And it can be market innovation, but mostly it's product innovation. It's the ability to iterate very, very quickly. And to test your assumptions very quickly. And to know that a lot of them will fail. And when you put things out, you have a chance to actually measure and know what's working and what's not working, and know how to improve. And this is something, again, the best and most important thing to remember here is that when you build something, the #1 criteria for the first version should be how quickly can you change and replace parts of it. Because that's the only way to improve and get it to be better and better. So usually product evolve, but by making very, very small changes. And this is something that is important. It's really a set of small wins. You improve something, you change something else, you improve the menu, you add small functionality. You should test it all the time, right? Almost any product is built from a huge amount of small changes and improvements, and not from big wins. And think about Google, for example, right? Or Facebook. or Microsoft Word or many other products, when did they ever change what they're doing? Why did something big? Never. Right? Google is still Google. Right? You go to the search engine. Yes, so it does the automatic search and it does a bunch of other things, but it's pretty much the same product. There's a lot of small changes. So when you think about your product, especially in the beginning, it should be one product that does the same thing and always improves. And this is a huge part of the strategy. And this is where I see a lot of companies that always stray, and they try to do something else and something else and something else in addition. If Google don't do that on their main product, I think it might be a bit too early for everybody else. The only danger with doing that, right, is that something that Ford said, and is that if we would continue to make small improvement and ask people what they want, and they would probably say faster horses, right, and not cars. And so this is something you should always notice, right, to try to see where you can make a leap of faith and add something big. But the majority of it should be small, small changes. And how much more time do I have, Anna? 3 minutes? This is something that, for us at Wix, this is the number one key parameter, conversion. Conversion is the percentage of people that come into a website or the application and actually finish to do everything that you want. Right? For us, it's people that, visitors to our websites all the way to become a paid customer. And this is the most important and single way by which we make decisions. Right? So if somebody comes and has a great idea about something or something that we think is very stupid, we can always test it. If it improves conversion, it's good. If it doesn't, if it hurts conversion, it's bad. And if it's doing nothing, it actually is meaningless. And this is something that we define. All the culture in the company is actually built on that. You can test anything. But you have to improve and measure that it either improves what we do or don't. And so my also personal belief is that if you don't measure something, you can never improve it. Now I'm going to skip that because this is another advice. When you build companies, don't do business development. Okay? And it takes a lot of time, takes a lot of work. Usually it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you don't believe it's going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. Just flying a couple of times and closing the legal contracts takes a lot of time. You're depending on somebody else, and he can move jobs, he can die, he can decide that he doesn't like you anymore, and you spend a huge amount of effort for something, and in a minute it can disappear. And every big company will drive every small company crazy. We're asking many, many changes all the time. And you can find that instead of continuously building your product, improving it, you're spending time on working for those guys. And if you consider all of that, if you take that time, that amount of money, and spend it into marketing, you can probably do a lot better yourself. And very few companies, of course, there's always the example of Checkpoint, which actually made their business by doing a major business development with Sun, but those are very rare. And so that's my last advice. And I think I'm going to close. I have a couple more slides, but I think that I noticed that I'm running out of time.